and welcome to another episode of the Simply Connected podcast, your go-to spot for discovering new connections. We are in a new filming location this week, and I'm super excited to get to chat with Carl and Shelly, longtime friends who I met when we first started walking in the Weekend 10 Women's Cancers, and we get to have a really wholesome conversation around connections in all walks of life, and we also dive into what connection and technology looks like and kind of the impacts that it brings, both positive and negative. It's a really fun conversation with two really wonderful people. I can't wait for you to check it out. Hi guys, welcome to the Simply Connected podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having us. Nice to be had.
Let's jump right in because I'm excited to have both of you on the show this time. It's our first two-person episode, but I feel like it was really important to have you both as guests on the show. So I'm going to throw it right over to you because I feel like not only do we have a long history, but you have lived quite a lot of life together and separately. And why don't you tell me and listeners a little bit about yourselves?
Would you like to start?
No, go for it.
So you have to hear the story about how we met.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we start.
Wait, yeah, we'll start there. But I also didn't say your names. So let me say, hey, Carl and Shelly. Let's give the listeners some names. And then
I'm Carl.
You're Carl, you're Shelly.
Yeah. Just to
set the record straight.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about how you met.
Oh my goodness. So 1984. Do you remember 1984?
I was not born yet.
I was just going to say that. 1984, somebody answered a personal ad. There was no internet. A newspaper personal ad. And somebody said, do you remember what you said?
I do remember. So back in 84, we were both living in Halifax. I was taking baby pictures at Kmart Mall, and I had just moved there. And I was not really in an environment to meet people. So I put an ad in the paper, personal column. Like Carl said, there was no such thing as internet back then. And I put 23-year-old woman interested in meeting interested in meeting a 30 or 26 to 34 man who's for a long-term relationship based on honesty and fun, and a couple of other things which I can't remember. So I did that. I got 21 replies, and out of the 21 replies, I categorized them: absolutely, yes, no, never. And out of the absolutely ones, I prioritized them yet again.
Okay.
He came out on top, and we met Thursday night, May the 10th. We went out. Our first date was at Inn on the Lake for apple crumble and coffee. And Friday, I was at work, and I was changing some of the baby pictures. And I turned around, and Carl's standing there with the rose. And he was going away that weekend to go kayaking. Whitewater kayaking. And Saturday night, around 11 o'clock, he called and said, "Can I come over and spend the night?"
Wow.
And he's never left.
He's been here the whole time.
He has. And then 3 years later, on May the 10th, we got married.
I have to ask, though, before he fully moved in and became attached at the hip, did any of the other 20 applicants ever get a date?
No.
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 So you just soared right to the top.
He did.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. And is that how you remember that story going?
This is good. You don't know any of this. Did you remember it?
No.
We've never told you that?
No.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Surprise.
I love that. And so 3 years later, you got married.
Got married on May the 10th.
May the 10th.
Mother's Day.
Mother's
It was
Day.
a Mother's Day.
Were you still in Halifax then, or were you?
Yep.
Okay, so when did you move to Ottawa?
Oh, my goodness. I moved in April of 1994, and Shelly moved in July 1994.
Okay, and what brought you to Ottawa?
Employment for moi.
Okay, and you followed.
I did.
Okay, I guess if you're married.
Good
Yeah,
move.
I did.
Good move, Shel. Good move. Yeah.
So settled in Ottawa.
Yes.
What were you both doing for work at the time?
I was contracts analyst for Motorola.
Okay. Did you like it?
I did.
Yeah?
And actually, I progressed into sales and stayed there until A little over 2,000, I think. And then took a variety of jobs. Then I ended up working for one of their original equipment manufacturers over in Quebec, and stayed there for, I don't know, another 10 years, I think.
Until 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Until 2011, yeah.
Okay. And you? I know you've done some traveling with work too.
I moved up as a result of getting a job with SHL System House, and they hired me. I was interviewed by a vice president. He hired me, and away we went. We kind of came up, 1996 in Ottawa. They asked me to move and go and help in Napa, California for 3 months. It ended up being 22 months later. I traveled back and forth, every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Until we finally decided it was, I'm coming home.
It was hard. It
was difficult. It was really difficult, yeah. And then as soon as I got back, Shelly started traveling.
Traveled for 2 years.
Shelly traveled for 2 years,
Okay.
South America.
I feel like I didn't know that you traveled too.
Yeah.
Okay, so lots of long distance.
It was, and it was before the time of FaceTime or any type of social media in that sense. So you would call, and there was no visual. There was no we didn't see each other.
Mm-hmm.
Carl was gone for 10 days and back for 4, so there was no face-to-face conversations. It was just, hi, how you doing? That was it, and yeah, it was hard to keep connected.
Mm-hmm. And how, back when you think about that time, you just touched on it being not very technology friendly. You were making phone calls and things like that. How do you feel, how did you navigate that time? Was it mostly just phone calls, or how did you make sure that you prioritized the relationship?
Well, we talked at least twice a day, so once first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And we always made sure that there was internet. I mean, we would do emails. Carl was always sending me flowers or sending me cards and things like that. And then usually on the weekends when he was home, we didn't see friends. We just stayed with each other and did all the things that we couldn't do when he wasn't there.
Yeah. And I know, going backwards a little bit in this story, you have 2 girls. Where were they during this time?
Halifax.
Halifax.
Yeah,
okay.
they were in Halifax the whole time.
So
yeah.
they're still. When did they both, or just one move to Ottawa?
No, neither of them moved.
Neither.
Who did I meet though?
You met Brianna.
Yeah. She wasn't living here?
No, she at the time I believe
Oh.
Brianna was living in Portland, Maine, and she was if she wasn't going to university, she was living in Portland, Maine,
Okay.
and working in nonprofit.
So she was just visiting.
She was visiting for the walks.
I thought she lived here.
No.
Oh, so that would have had to been hard too, having 2 kids still in Halifax. Well, you not only lived in Ottawa, but traveled.
And again, we moved up with the intentions of being employed so that we could turn around and move back. And once we got here, we were only here not even 2 years, and Carl went to California for a short period of time, which ended up being 22 months. But it took us, 23 years to get back? It took us 23 years to get back to Nova Scotia.
Wow. Where you're settled now.
Where we're settled now.
Yeah. And love it. I know Ottawa still holds a very special place in your heart, but Halifax feels like home.
Ottawa's home.
Yeah?
Ottawa will always be home to me.
Halifax is home. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, Shelly's really good about it because she's come to Halifax.
Yeah.
It's where the girls are. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get to come back to Ottawa every now and again, your old stomping grounds.
Absolutely. It's our annual pilgrimage here
Yeah.
for a month every year,
for
we
a month.
come back to see our friends. So,
Come back to see friends, see old stomping grounds. What is a must do when you come to Ottawa?
See friends.
Yeah?
See friends.
See friends.
We
Any
saw-
sights?
Friends.
connections.
Yeah.
Connections.
It's
Our
about the
friends.
connections that
Yeah. And
you
even
miss
after
those.
after being gone 7 years, we still have strong friendship connections with the same people that we had here. And it's amazing. We saw friends on Friday night, and when we were here, she was my esthetician, and every month or every 6 weeks, I'd go see her, and we would pick one month we would pick a place for dinner. The next time they would pick, and we did this on Friday night just like old times.
Yeah.
And we pick up exactly where we left off. We don't connect through the year, except her and I share the same birthday and year. So we always, back and forth then, but that's it. And then we pick up exactly where we left off, and we have that connection with all the friends we have here.
Yeah, I love that even though time has passed, and we've talked about it a couple times, how there's some relationships that you just know that it doesn't have a natural beginning and an ending. It's just you can see each other whenever you see each other, and it feels like no time has passed,
Yep.
which I think is going to be really fun to dive into with you guys on this episode, because in my opinion, you are the ultimate connectors. I feel like there's just everywhere you go, you're meeting people, you're hearing stories, you're making friends. So let's take it back in time to, oh my god, maybe 2016, 2017 when we met. I feel like.
Well, when you were 15.
Yeah, when I was 15. So I'm trying to do the math in my head when. Wow.
Yeah.
So So 2007.
Yeah, I would say.
7
Holy
and 8
moly.
were the big years we
Yeah.
were
Holy
walking.
moly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we met each other in 2007.
Yeah.
And it was a natural connection.
It was.
I feel like at the time, my friend and I, we were looking to participate in what was the Weekend 10 Women's Cancers, and new to the whole atmosphere, but wanting to join a community. I remember having to pick a team, and it was lottery. We were just like, that one. Sure, let's pick that one. And at the time, I can't remember who was one of the organizers, but there was some stipulations about us walking in it because we were minors, right? And when we had told them, like, we're going to join that team, they were like, oh yeah, great team. Like, you were well known in the realm of what this event was. And then you were hosting pre-walks, things like that.
We were having a tattoo party.
You were having a tattoo party. And that was the first time we met. But I think you had also invited us on those training walks that we chose not to do.
Well, yeah.
We chose not to do. And so do you remember the night that my friend and I showed up at this tattoo party?
I do very well, because we took this very seriously, that we were, for that day, your guardian, and you had to listen to us.
Yeah, you had to sign the paperwork.
We had to sign the paperwork.
I should also say, when we say tattoo party, we're not actually getting inked. It was spray tattoos for this event.
Spray.
So
Yeah, good point. And so we had this in our garage. And we had our team there, and we were going over the. I met your mom. We met your mom then, and it was okay. Yes, we're going to take very good care of the girls. They'll be with us. We'll watch them, and we go through all these rules and regulations. And the very first thing that Lauren says to me is, "When do I get my T-shirt?" Never mind anything else. When do I get my T-shirt?
I still have that T-shirt, by the way.
Do you remember the name of the team?
Yep, saving our tatas
That's
Bingo.
it.
with the pink pool noodles.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, staple. I feel like, how many years? You walked way more, but I think I did 4 years.
You did 4
Every
years.
year.
Yeah,
Every year, people knew it, and
We
that team
did.
just grew.
it did.
We did 6 cities across Canada in 2008.
Yeah, your last year, you were traveling with them all.
Yeah.
So what made you decide? How long had you been doing the walk before I met you?
Right from the very beginning.
The very first one. Yeah.
So a couple years.
2000. I figured 2006 or so.
So a year or two.
Yeah.
What made you want to join?
I wanted a challenge for myself, because I like that type of challenge. And my mom had breast cancer, so it was to honor her.
Yeah. And the first year, did you form a team right away, or did you join a team, or did you just walk?
Oh, we had a team.
Do you remember? We were actually out on a training walk with a person who was a team leader, we thought, and I believe she dropped out.
Yeah.
And Carl and Shelly just said, well, you guys keep coming. Let's keep going.
Okay.
And all of a sudden we had a team. So it was come up with the name. Let's see what we can do. Raising money for a good cause. Yeah, we're all over that. So pretty much that's how it started, I think. Yeah.
And then it just grew from there.
It grew.
And I remember there was a little bit of a rivalry with the team from Gatineau.
Winchester and Gatineau.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Winchester.
We were the
Friendly
three times-
competition, but there
Absolutely.
was some competition
It
there
was the
to
best competition.
whoever
'cause
could get the biggest
everybody
team.
won.
Yeah.
The hospitals won
Yeah.
because we were competing. But it was friendly. But there was a little bit of Yes.
Yeah. I just remember
Rivalry.
the energy of those events. It was just, I don't know. I know things shifted here and there between certain things, but just the overall energy of the people coming together for that weekend is just, it was an absolute incredible feeling. And the sense of accomplishment that you not only get from walking it, but also raising the money and knowing where your money was going and doing it for the people that you loved, like your mom, my mom, friends' moms, things like that. What would you say was the hardest part about doing those events?
Oh, there was nothing hard.
Yeah, I was just going to say there
Walking
wasn't anything
in the rain,
hard.
maybe, but nothing. There was nothing hard. There was nothing hard. The thing that was the hardest were the opening and closing ceremonies, and listening to the guest speakers or hearing why the people were walking. If anything, that was the hardest part.
Yeah, fair. Lots of tears.
Lots of tears.
Lots of tears.
Yeah.
They really got you emotionally before you even started walking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had to amp up the energy to like,
Yeah.
let's go, guys. And so what did you do? So in order to walk in this weekend, everyone had to raise, it was $2,000? $2,000. What were some of the things that you guys did to raise your money?
We published a cookbook.
Yeah.
We did.
Tell me about that.
It was called Tickled Pink. We went and got recipes from some celebrities in Canada and just out to families and friends. And we asked everybody who submitted a recipe to submit a story. So we got some incredible stories as to people who were connected to them, people who they lost to cancer, just lots of really good connections.
Do you still have any copies of that cookbook?
A few.
A few? Little memento?
Yeah, a few.
You've actually managed to get, I think there's 2 that we've got that Dan Aykroyd signed.
Yeah.
No way.
At some time you went and saw him for a wine event or something, and you took the cookbooks, and we've got those signed. So we've still got a couple of them.
Yeah, not many.
I think I was lucky I have one.
We had 2,500, I believe, that we ordered and got published.
Yeah.
And paid that off. You and I paid for that, and then it was close to $50,000 that we raised with the book.
Wow, that's incredible.
So, yeah.
You also hosted a couple of golf tournaments?
We did.
Yeah.
We've did 2 golf tournaments here in Ottawa, and that was to help fund our walks across Canada. Because the year that we walked across Canada, I was the same age that my mom was when she died, which was 48. So we had to do the $2,000 for each walk. And then the money after that, we were able to help some people here who couldn't quite raise the $2,000. So we were able to donate and help other people share the experience.
Aw. And what would you say, out of all of the walks that you did and the people that you met along the way, has there been any connections that have stood out for you through doing these walks, whether here or the ones you did across Canada? I know for me, was some memorable people on that walk with some incredible stories.
I think for me, there were 2 things. One, there was a lady on our team. Well, actually, no, she walked here in Ottawa. Lynn Broadway Bennett. She used to train with us, and we were walking down, I think, Ogilvy Road, walking into base camp that night. And she was struggling because it was very hot, and she was struggling walking. And the whole team just encased her. Like, we were in front of her, we were behind her, we were around her, behind her. Like, there was no way we were going to let her give up. And we just supported her that way. And whoever did base camp, there was a huge hill that you had to walk to get down. And it was hard. And the energy, she felt our energy.
Yeah. I think too, when I think back to some of those moments, because you're walking 60 kilometers, right? And it's meant to be a challenge, but it's also perspective on how you approach something like that. And I remember on that walk, there were certain times where, whether it was raining or hot or whatever the weather, you just needed almost like one person next to you to just lift that energy, even just slightly. And then that one person sometimes turned into 2 and 3, and suddenly you're just surrounded by people who were almost carrying you to that finish line. That's
what we did with Lynn. Like, it was just the energy carried her in there. And one of the walks that we were out in BC, where there was a lady, I don't know her name, but she had blisters basically all over her feet, and this was day 2. And we had walked in, and we had walked across the finish line, and Carl went back out and got her and walked in with her. So there was probably about 5 kilometers that she was out. So he walked out to get her and walked back in with her. Just Carl. He went out. He said, I'll be right back, and went and got her.
Oh. And I remember too the what were they called, like the sweep vehicles?
Yes.
Those on the walks too,
Yeah.
who would sometimes scoop people up who couldn't finish, who had moments like that. And even their energy coming down the street. It was such a cool experience and thing to be a part of. And like I said, that's where we met, and that's where our connection and our relationship continued to grow from. When that event ended, I know both of you stay very involved in whatever community you're in, always looking for ways to connect and to give back. Where did your volunteering journey take you after that?
Into Halifax, and we had another golf tournament a couple years ago, and then Carl actually was the board of directors of Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, I was the president of the board of directors of Halifax Meals on Wheels. So I was already volunteering and driving and delivering meals to a route that I had every week, and got to see people. But once I got to the position of, I was on the board, and then I got to be president, I said to Shelly, we need to raise some money. Let's do a fundraiser. So we actually went after it. And we got a lot of really, really good people involved that helped. We raised a little better than $43,000 for we had such a good time. It was full, the 144 golfers for the event. Can't say anything, but it was.
Oh, it was fun. And why we chose the golf tournament, it was the Barb Snowden first annual golf tournament, because Barb and her mom had been long-term volunteers at Meals on Wheels. Her mom out in Calgary and Barb in Nova Scotia. And Barb was our next door neighbor at the time. And she was volunteering, Meals on Wheels, got Carl involved in it. And she unfortunately had passed away with brain cancer. So we did it to honor her, a memorial for her. And it was fun. It was a lot of great connections there, our neighbors, a lot of good friends that we've stayed in touch with.
I think what I keep hearing, and I love it, because I think if I know anything about the two of you, which I think I do, is you like to have fun. And the root of all these events and philanthropic things that you do is fun, but also giving back.
Yes.
And I'm excited to ask you this question, because I haven't asked it for a couple episodes, because we were getting very similar answers, which makes sense. But again, knowing what I know from the two of you and how much you give back to the people around you, I'm very curious as to what your take on connection is. What does connection look like to you?
Well, for me, connections can be short-term. You can meet somebody in a restaurant. You can meet somebody on the street and be connected. We were away for the winter, and we connected to our next-door neighbor. And both of them, he came over the day and says, how can I help? I want to make your stay here better. We instantly connected to him because he was warm and open. He was friendly. So that was a connection. Some connections could be long-term, like we talked about. We have friends in Canada, like all of our friends here. We don't see them from year to year. We get together and we pick up exactly where we left off. So for me, those are different connections. I have connections of people that I work with that, I start every day talking to one of my colleagues who becomes a friend. He starts my call every day, says, how you doing? Every day.
You all right?
Yeah, right?
You all right?
But we can, we talk, we whine to each other, we complain to each other, so we're connected. But I also know that when I stop working, that connection will probably fade away because we're connected through work. Where other connections, like us, we're connected forever.
What's that saying? People come into your life for a season, a reason, or something? Like there's a third one.
Wow.
A season, a reason. Yeah. I look at Ryan like he'd know.
Like he knows what he's doing. Yeah,
we're going to have the answer here in a few seconds.
He will. It's because he doesn't get a microphone for this episode. He can't tell me.
Oh, there you go.
Lifetime. There you go.
A lifetime.
A season, a reason, or a lifetime. Yeah, to teach you something for a
I like
period
it.
in your life or for a lifetime.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So-
Because I'll say sometimes I'll say it has an expiry date.
Mhm.
So there's my season.
Yeah.
Or a reason. And it's fine. It's okay with that.
And you, to teach you something, to teach you a lesson?
Well, no. Actually, I'm going to do what Shelly calls a squirrel.
Okay.
So have you ever seen a dog when you're walking and all of a sudden it spots a squirrel?
Yeah.
It goes in a completely different direction.
Okay.
I'm
Take it
gonna-
there.
I'm gonna
Let's go. Let's
Go,
squirrel.
little squirrel. We met through Shelly giving away a pair of winter boots.
Oh,
We
yeah.
met a couple who had immigrated from the Philippines to Nova Scotia almost 3 years ago now, I believe. And Laura came back to you and actually said, please consider me for the boots. And we ended up meeting her and then her husband, Jomi. And after about 2 or 3 minute conversation, we were looking at them. It's winter. It's October and it's cold. They don't have any warm boots. They didn't have anything, basically. So the two of us said, get in the car. And we went to Walmart. So like this charitable stuff you do, it's kind of cool. So how can you make a friend? I love doing and getting to meet the people that I'm helping, if you can.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we've become such good friends with these now. They left their kids, with Jomi and Laura, left their kids for the first year with their sister in the Philippines before they brought the kids
them here.
over. We've met the kids now for a little better than a year. JL is the little guy. He's 7 or 8 years old. Lexi's the little girl. She's 3, maybe 4 now. And they call us Grandpa Carl and Granny Shelly. So we've got these. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We had them all over. They'd never had turkey dinner.
Oh my gosh.
We had them. They live in a home. They used to live in a home with about 10 other Filipino folks
Yeah.
in this 3-bedroom. Incredible. They'd never met each other. It was almost like a big family.
It's a community.
And we walked in and became connected.
And we were welcomed like family.
Yep, just like family.
I think I remember this family. I think when I was visiting you last summer, summer before,
Yeah.
you were talking about them and how the kids were almost coming here,
Yeah.
which I love. And so
Yeah.
when you think about stories like this or what we just talked about when it's a season, a reason, or a lifetime, how do you go about maintaining these connections? Like how do you, because again, we touched on it and how you can have a connection that doesn't have a start or end, but you can pick up right where you left off. But it still requires some
It does.
maintenance and
It
care
does.
and work, right? So how do you go about maintaining these connections? Because they're all different.
Sometimes the connections are easier. Like I have a friend who has moved to Puerto Vallarta full time, and her and I have known each other for about 20 years. Her and I work together here in Ottawa, and I'd pick her up every morning. We would some days stop and get a coffee, and other days not. And so we're connected. We are very different as night and day, but there's a connection there. There's a friendship there. We will talk about once every 4 or 5 weeks. Half an hour, 45 minutes, just connected like that. But it's a connection. It's a deep connection with her. I mean, we have almost like a mutual understanding that this is what the friendship will be. But it's always there. I can call her anytime.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are some that it just requires no work. It's just easy.
Yeah.
And then there's some that you know that eventually will. For me, I know it'll fade.
Mm-hmm.
But I've enjoyed it, and it's been very meaningful to me while I've had it.
Yeah. I feel like, too, sometimes they don't have to be really grand gestures, right? Like,
Nope.
if you have someone in your life, whether a colleague or a friend, it can just be a simple, hey, thinking about you.
And that's it.
And it shows that you're still there, that you're still approachable. Has there been anyone and I'll ask you both because I feel like we have lots of options to pick from, but has there been someone, okay, this is going to be a 2-parter because I feel like you'll have the answers. let's not pull it off the table. Has there been a connection in your life that might have changed the trajectory of your life? And has there been a person that you've met who's changed your life and they don't know it?
Oh, good question. You go first.
Give me a chance to
Yeah.
give me a chance to
ponder
think.
on that
That
one.
was good. Yeah. Wow.
2 questions there. Digging right in.
So give us one of the two. Give us the first question
Okay.
again.
First question. Let's go with has there been someone in your life who has changed it and they don't know that they've changed your life? And it could be positive or negative. We've had a couple negatives, but not super negative, just that it's propelled them to do something else. But we like to lean into the positive.
I don't know whether for me, I don't know whether it was so much as a person, but and maybe it was because I grew up in the country and I knew that I didn't want to be there, and I worked hard to get out of a country setting and to be more than what I had always been told that, oh, go be a secretary because that's what you should be. That's what you're going to be. And I worked hard to get out of that, to break away from that, and be in an environment that I knew I could grow and be happy with myself. So for me, it was more of an environment versus a person.
Okay. Still, the connections to that environment.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I like Ottawa. It's got positive connections.
And you? Someone who has changed your life?
Well, Shelly's story is exactly what I'm thinking about my parents, but my mother, if there's anything good in me, it's as a result of my mother. But I didn't want to have the life that they had. So I was out at 17. Thinking of somebody, I'm thinking
I know
about,
right away the person who is Mazen.
well, we've met. I do meet a lot of people.
I feel like between the two of you, you have a Rolodex of people that you've met.
Yeah.
That not only you've probably changed their lives, but who have probably changed yours, and you just maybe don't know it.
Well, this Mazen that I just mentioned, we're going to actually go and see he and his wife who live in Prince Edward County. We're going to go see them in about 2 weeks' time. And he and Carl used to work together. And if there's anybody that had a positive influence on Carl later in life, it's Mazen.
And how did you meet this person?
So at a work, so we were working for the federal government. I was a contractor. He was full time, and we'd chat occasionally. And then one day he just said, "Let's go and have coffee," and it started. And then every single day we started going to have coffee. It turns out that Mazen is Muslim. He was born in Baghdad and raised in Baghdad, and he and I started talking about the Quran. The Bible, the Quran, same stories, just a little bit different slant on it. But the one thing that he believes is his mandate in life, or his duty, is to help people who have less than he does. Well, I fell in love with that. I thought, oh my God, that's exactly we should all be doing that.
I agree.
Where do I sign up? And as we talked, it was more, we just got to be really, really good friends. So he's ended up with a lavender farm, he and his wife, Nada. And we've had them down to our place in Nova Scotia, and they invite us up to their place, this lavender farm, to see them again.
Is this where you get the lavender from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Aw, 2 great stories. And I already forgot the second question I asked you. Do you remember it?
No.
But
one of the things that I'm based on what Carl just said about Maz and how it's his responsibility to help anybody else in life. That's our moral compass, is how can we help people? And we like to help. We don't do it for recognition. We don't help people for thanks. We help people because we're in a position to be able to. And it's just nice to be able to help somebody. I do it at work. I work with a development team in Mexico. And even my manager said, you always go for the person. And I said, do, because it's my responsibility to help them, to help mentor them, and to make sure that they can be everything that they want to be in the company that we work with. So that's the connection I have for them, that they can see that they can be better.
Absolutely. And I feel like that goes to show your leadership style too, right? And there's so many times that we don't necessarily get that mentorship that we want or that we crave from a leader. And it goes to show how you're almost putting yourself back in their situation, right? You're not viewing yourself up on a pedestal, but you're bringing yourself down, making yourself relatable, approachable.
Yep.
Empathy.
Empathy. Let's talk about empathy. Do we have enough of it?
Do we? No. In general, people don't.
No.
Not even.
No. But yeah, to the point, showing empathy and just helping bring people along, helping push people along, helping them to see their potential and where it is they can go, because not everyone has those people in their lives.
It was no different than Walk, helping Lynn and showing her that we're connected with her. We've got her, like, we'll take our energy. We're going to get you there. Same as working with this team in Mexico. Like, you know, the women that I work with there are incredible. Like, they outshine the men 10 to 1. They're just dedicated. I'll do whatever I can to help them. Whatever.
And this kind of goes in line with what you've been talking about, but with the people that you meet, because you're also both pretty social beings. You like to meet people, you like to hear their stories, you like to learn. How do you go about, I guess, making new connections? I know sometimes for you it can be as simple as a hello. I mean, you just told me one when you were traveling a few weeks ago. How do you approach people? If you see a person standing somewhere, a neighbor, and you want to get to know them?
Just walk right up and say hello.
Yeah,
That's
you're just
what
going
I
to
like
head on
do.
over there?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. Somebody's walking by or running, someone's running, we'll always do a high five.
Yeah.
A wave?
Invariably. No, a high
Oh,
five.
a
And they'll
five.
come by, clap your hand, and they'll go a little bit, stop, talk, possibly. Little tiny bit of kindness.
Carl talks to anybody. Carl will talk.
I know.
He will talk to anybody. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
No, I enjoy that. You miss out on some of the best.
If I didn't know you and you sat next to me on a plane and you started talking to me, I'd probably put my headphones on. Just saying.
You're the loser in that situation then, see?
I'm the introvert.
I don't think so. I don't remember you as being shy.
No?
Where's my T-shirt?
Where's my T-shirt?
No, you wouldn't. I mean, in that case, you probably would not strike up to a full in-depth conversation.
But it's also one thing I do love about you, because you are so approachable and you can talk to anyone, and I feel like you'll have a story for this, but I mean, you just told me one, but has there been a time recently that you took this approach and said hi or gave a high five or a simple wave and you got a pretty cool story out of it? Yeah.
Emil and Melissa, where we were down, we're out walking, and the little burrowing owls were down on the ground, and we were standing there, and all of a sudden, somebody's waving, we're waving. Melissa came out, chatted us up, and all of a sudden, Emil, her husband, came out. He was born in Iceland. She was born in North Dakota. Had a great story about when she was growing up years and years ago. The only TV stations they could get was CBC in North Dakota. So all she ever grew up with was Canadian TV.
And she knew metric more than imperial.
She knew metric more, yeah. But you wouldn't hear these incredible stories if you didn't take the time.
And stop and look at their burrowing owls, and then we come out and strike up a conversation.
We've got their contact info, and they want to see us again if we ever get back there.
But over owls. We connected over owls.
Over burrowing owls.
Burrowing owls.
How would you say, given the climate we live in and all the changes that we've faced over the last couple of years, how would you say people's reaction to connection has changed? I mean, you're both pretty approachable when you want to talk to people and meet new people. have you noticed a shift in maybe people being less open or less approachable?
We haven't found it. I mean, last year, as you know, we were in Spain. You were with us for some of the time. We connected with people on the ferry ride coming back from Africa. So that was then. This is now. We were actually in the United States for the winter, and even though we were Canadian, everybody was open.
Mm-hmm.
We may have been a little bit less open to talk about certain things. We have a little rule that there are 5 topics that we won't talk about, and that's just our moral compass to keep any controversy out. But there was no problems. Like we just talked about the same things. Everybody wants their family, like the couple next door. They have a great connection with their 3 children who all live out of city. Like one lives out of state, 2 live out of state.
One in New York, yeah.
And
One in New York.
and they'll watch a movie on just stream video, and everybody's watching the same movie, but they're all on video calls.
Different locations. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a connection that they have, and they shared that with us, and it's like it's cool.
Yeah. And so I like your 5 topics that you don't discuss. I mean, we've talked about it on the show many times, but boundaries are important, and it's important to hold those. When you think about how do I want to word this? The connections that you've made and that you've built and that you carry with you, how... My brain is formulating this question. No, we're just going to scrap that question.
Okay.
We're going to cut that question out. And I'm going to flip it over because I want to ask a couple more things. And I know that you've been traveling for a little bit, heading back home to Halifax soon.
Yes.
And you've settled there for the last couple of years. Family, life, routine. When you think about going home and getting back into that routine, what does, I guess in correlation with connection, what does your community look like out there that you've built? And what does community look like to you?
The community that we live in now, surprisingly, we have a fairly large neighborhood, very diverse, which is wonderful. We love the diversity of our street. And when there are new neighbors that come in and join the neighborhood, we're right there. Like we will take over food or cooking and something to welcome them into our neighborhood. We have one family that moved in last summer. They're from China, and they've come down to. Surprisingly, we've had parties at our house. We have
a party?
Yes, we have a little Facebook group.
Street party where we
street
invite
party?
the entire
Street party.
neighborhood. Yeah.
And we will invite everybody into the garage. And one winter we had like 50 people in the garage. And it's just, some of the people, they never see each other. But they will stand around our little fire pit, have a drink, and get to know each other's neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. At Christmas time, we had an open house. This one family that I'm talking about, the little girl, their little daughters, Skylar. She wanted to go home. So her dad took her home. She came back with a little bucket of candy that she wanted to share with the other kids that were at the party.
Oh my gosh.
So that to us, I mean, we have a good time with them. So, we get back on April 26th, I think. And probably the following weekend, we'll have the first official spring fling in the garage. So that for us, that's the community that we built. I mean, we miss them, but looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah. What do we have a theme for this spring fling?
Just that. Yeah.
Food and adult beverages.
Food and a good time.
Yep. Spring fling. That's what it'll be.
And so settling back home at the end of the month, what are you looking forward to doing?
Coming back to Ottawa.
Being in the house. We miss the house.
We do.
No, you're home for a while.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Big plans?
Gardening. Yeah, getting the garden.
Road trips. Somebody has some favorite stores around the province that we go to.
Yeah.
Down the valley in Truro and the South Shore. Yeah, our favorite spots.
Okay. I can't believe that when I last talked to you, you were gearing up to be away for a few months. Those few months have already passed. And I feel like maybe I'm rushing things, but I feel like you're already like halfway through your stay here.
We are. We've got less than 2 weeks.
And you're heading back home.
Yeah, less than. Well, actually, we leave here on the 18th.
On the 18th. Okay.
So
yeah.
it's going so fast.
So fast.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to come back.
Okay.
Okay. One more question before we head into rapid fire, because I'm curious as to what your take on this is. Maybe because you have children in your life, you know people, you're still working. How do you think technology has played a role in our ability to connect with people?
It's awesome.
I think there's actually bad and good associated with the technology. It means we can reach out further to different people in different areas of the world, but there's too much of it. We've gotten, in my opinion, away from this, a simple face-to-face conversation about life. How can I explain or talk to you productively about your life in a text or an email or a I think there's some good things about it, but there's some things. When was the last time we put down our phone
And just talked.
and just talked? Can you put down your phone for 24 hours? Have you ever turned it off for 24 hours recently?
Lauren did when she was away.
Yeah, when I was away. But it was hard.
It's very hard.
But I feel like it's, again, good and bad. It's a connection, right? It's connection to the world. Not necessarily always good when you're bombarded with social media all the time. But yeah, I think back to even when I was growing up and cell phones weren't as big yet. And there was still a little bit of separation and space from them. It was usually just used to check in or to get an answer for something. And now it's almost like another limb, right? Like it's attached to you, but it's also such a big resource in our life now. I've seen like memes on social media for like millennials and like people my age, and tell me how you feel about this, but for like a little device that holds so much power. And I feel like I'm going to contradict myself here because you've surpassed me with this because you use Apple Pay, but people will be buying plane tickets or train tickets or concert tickets on their phone. And I'm like, oh no, that's a laptop job. Like I
do all that.
I know.
I do all that.
And I'm just like, it's stuck in that period of what technology was before this and still trying to stay up to date with it. But yeah, I'm one of those people that I'm like, you want me to buy a concert ticket? I'm going to be on my laptop or my desktop.
I'll be on a secure network, but I'll be doing it on the phone.
Yeah.
Word viruses on that thing, these conspiracy theories are propagated way too easily in that there are so many. I got to be careful the way I word this too. There are some people that are easily swayed by something that they hear or see on social media because of the fact that it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
I just see that negative side of it. I don't know how to control. That's part of the issue for me. Love all the other pieces that you're talking about in terms of really good connections and some of the ways it's making our life easier. But it's now increased some of the roadblocks, some of the negativity associated with some of the stuff that's going on. So
I would very much agree with that, especially with AI now. And
that's so powerful.
You really need to check your sources. You can't believe everything you see or you read.
Yeah, AI is just so incredibly powerful. And more and more, I'm using it every day in my everyday work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the guys that I work with typed in something that he was looking for, and ask AI to produce code, and we are still using that code.
Yeah. It's a powerful tool.
It is.
But again, also has its downsides, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The downside, I think, and I'm not sure if anybody's even thought about it, but it's powerful enough to become more human than humans. If you follow where I'm going with this, it can actually be smarter and be able to do things that a human couldn't. If you get to that, as soon as we're able to instill rational thought and reason in that AI brain, we've made a human. If we make humans, how is that going to impact our mankind?
Yeah, Bill Gates has already said that by what, 20, I don't know what the year was, that AI will replace some professions.
Oh, we're seeing it already.
Yeah.
People are using it in their everyday job. Again, we should fact check this, but I got it from a pretty reputable source. But I was away with a friend, and we were talking about AI and things like that. And I feel like most people, we use it to help us create things and whatnot. And we were reading about how it was contributing to climate change and how we don't think about us typing in, whatever it is we're using it for, write me an email to respond to this person, and how much energy is generated using that there's power plants in California and on the West Coast that are depleting water resources because it needs water to cool these plants down because they're working so hard. So it's things like that is it a great resource? Yes.
You never think of the consequences.
Yeah, but you don't see them, right?
No.
So you don't see it, it's not happening.
Right.
So things like that. But yeah. And did you answer your thought on technology?
Well, but I'm for technology, and even AI. And I understand what Carl's saying, and 100% agree. But because I work for a global company, we use technology like not FaceTime. I insist that the team uses Teams, video chat, video. I insist that go on camera because it's the only way that we can see some type of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you get some type of a virtual relationship, some type of a connection. If they're off camera, they're multitasking like I've done in the past, but you get to see them. And when we do camera, I'll do silly stuff so that they laugh at me, but it's a connection that we have. If we had the connection now if we had the connection then when Carl was in California versus now, it would have been so much easier on us as a couple because we would have done the video calls and we would have been able to see each other and show him around the house and do different things. I'd see where he was living, but we didn't have that. So, we get to do video calls with Brianna every week so that we get to see her and we get to do video calls with Abby. And we didn't have that then. So in my mind, those are two very good positive things. But exactly like Carl said, there are negative things that you just have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, there's two sides, right? There's the good, where you can connect with people who aren't close to you, who aren't in your time zone. You can meet new people. Yeah. I've heard so many stories recently about people meeting each other in fan clubs and in artist gatherings and things like that. And they know each other from online and then they meet in person for the first time.
Yeah, that's cool.
But then, it's understanding that there are downsides to almost everything.
Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up the episode, let's jump into some rapid fire questions because I feel like they're always fun and it just gives listeners a little bit more. Tell me the last movie or TV show you watched.
Oh, I watched 2 episodes of the biography of Sir Richard Branson.
Okay. Yeah. And how is it?
Well, it's awesome. I've still got two more episodes, which will happen tonight.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you?
The Cleaning Lady.
Oh, I've heard of that too. Is it good?
Very good.
Would recommend?
Highly.
Okay. Last book you read or podcast you listened to?
Last podcast was yours.
I was going to say mine.
Yeah.
Winning. Get those ratings up. Book? No book?
No hardcover book, but I'll read like online books for work.
Okay. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh. If I could have any superpower?
I have a superpower.
You do?
I do, yeah.
And?
Cheerleading.
That's true.
That's true.
Cheerleading.
That is
Okay.
true. You are a cheerleader.
That's a pretty good superpower to have. I mean, can you just follow me around?
Yeah.
Don't we do it now?
And
Oh, if I could have any superpower. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone that I would want. Name
No?
me some.
You'd
No.
like to fly.
teleportation was a really big one.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't asked this question in a bit because we are getting pretty much teleportation every episode.
I never thought of that.
But if you could eliminate the travel in between,
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
yeah.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Spicy. Anything spicy.
Anything spicy? And pad thai?
Pasta. Noodles.
Pasta. Oh, pasta. Okay. I feel like whenever we hang out, we have pad thai.
Well, pad thai's got noodles.
Yeah, it is basically a noodle dish. If you could give yourself or your younger self any type of advice, what would you give yourself?
Wow. Prepare.
Prepare.
A little bit better than you did. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
Worry less and live more. Worry less.
Yeah.
I like
Worry
that
less
one.
and live more. You only live once. Go for it. Do it. Do it today.
I feel like we just talked about that
We
too.
did, and
Just
that's
do the
so.
thing.
Do it. We've got now. Do it.
Do it. If you could have dinner with any person, living or dead, who would it be?
Doris, my mom. That's easy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I would say my dad.
Yeah.
He'd be number one. I wish that Carl could have met him, but unfortunately. But then again, yeah, back to my Sir Richard Branson.
Sir Richard Branson, eh?
Yeah.
What's the draw?
He quit school when he was 16, started a school paper, started the Virgin Empire, is not afraid to take chances, will push the envelope, surrounds himself with intelligent people, and goes for it.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard nothing but positive things about him. I just don't know much about him.
He's amazing.
Okay. And then finally, we have the Simply Connected playlist that we like to add songs to. So I'm going to ask you both if you could add one song to this playlist for our listeners to check out. What song do you want to add?
That's so easy. Pentatonics. Hallelujah.
Good song. Good song.
Youngblood, 5 Seconds of Summer.
Youngblood. It's not ringing a bell, but I feel like I probably would have
It's
heard
good.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to add both of those songs, and we are going to wrap it up there. But I want to thank you both so much for joining me for an episode of the Simply Connected podcast, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Truly.
Thank you.
We love being connected to you.